So how's life in quarantine as a physio?
Oh, I think it's great. Although I've never sat this much in my life. For the amount of people that have a day job that involves sitting for 8 hours or plus, I can now feel their pain, literally. So it's interesting to see how body mechanics and everything changes in a short space of time. First of all, but as a physio, we're so used to movement. And whether it's in the clinic or going into the gym setting, or opening the doors for someone, walking, getting that sort of short amount of activity done to break up your day. Now, for me to sit at a desk, because we're online physios now, for us, the transition has been it's been pretty interesting. I can really empathize with those with back pain now.
What has your step count gone down to
I
from?
think I was averaging like 15,000 steps naturally every day. That's just with the work that we do and stuff. Uh, the one day I didn't do anything, 700.
Yeah. Welcome to my life. I remember that transition from being a PT to going online.
Yeah.
And the idea of thinking about steps was foreign to me because I was clocking 15K without even thinking about it. Walking up and down the gym floor, racking weights, right, moving from client to client. And then all of a sudden, you're just sitting on your ass all day long, and you've now got to think about movement. It's a whole different lifestyle that takes a bit of adjustment. Yeah,
For
so
sure, for sure. And I think in the physio aspect, nothing's really changed dramatically. I do miss the touch. I think there's something about the human touch that you can't replicate. But transitioning online for us has been natural, very natural. In fact, it's something that we were surprised how natural it's been for a lot of our clients, because they were like, this is exactly the same where you guys are in clinic setting. So it's great to see also the team kind of work along that same mentality. So it's been brilliant in that sense from the physio perspective. But yeah.
I was actually talking to Nathan about it the other day, and I was saying, we were talking about the concept of online physio, and he was like, well, actually, it makes no difference because the two key things for rehab are adherence and the exercises.
Yeah.
Adherence to the exercises, and they're two different things.
We call it compliance. I think that's the word.
Yeah.
They're complying to the exercise.
Yeah.
And not just your R&T program or any other program that you're doing. It's
No.
the rehab program.
Yeah, so it's doing the rehab exercises and then being compliant to those rehab exercises. And the touch and the massage and the manipulation and all of that actually has comparatively a lot less effect. Is that correct? Or
Yeah, absolutely. So science will now show that actually when you go and get your hands-on treatment done, like the effect of, say, for example, we stretch, right? Everyone stretches. And say the effect of a stretch is only 20 minutes. If I was to sort of put you back into a scan or measure the muscle length or something like that, nothing really would change. The same thing goes for manual touch. So manual touch is nice because all I'm doing is I'm actually changing. We have what we call a substance P fiber. It's substance P, which is basically released when I touch you. So when I hold on to, when someone puts your hand on your shoulder just to say, hey, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know how instantly you feel a bit of, it's comforting. That's the power of human touch. So all we're doing is just breaking that pain level from your shoulder to your brain and saying to you, actually, hey, let's interrupt that signal. And as soon as I interrupted that signal with manual therapy, you'll have a window of opportunity to now do your rehab, your exercise, and all of that. Now, I'm not saying no to manual therapy. I'm saying it's not the most important thing. But unfortunately, as physios, we've been pretty bad at sort of putting out that message. So most people who go to see a physio, chiro, osteo, health professional will always want the hands-on first before they have anything else in terms of education, empowerment, or in any of the knowledge side of things. And rightly so. I do feel there is a place for it, but I don't necessarily think it's the most important. And in this time, the COVID, my industry is, everyone is worried. There are people who've downed their tools, or physios who are constantly hands-on and seeing maybe 20 patients a day for 15 minutes a pop, or 20 minutes a pop, or 30 minutes a pop with a quick crack or adjustment or whatever they like to call it. All of a sudden, they're out of business. And they're now making the transition to online, but unfortunately, they've been too slow because for them to change their methodology, that's going to take a long time. That's going to take a long period of transition. You have to be practicing what you preach as a practitioner.
Yeah, I was surprised when we had our shoulder session a couple of weeks ago, which we can talk about later on. I think it'll be a really good example for this podcast. And I was surprised at how little manual therapy you actually did. Like I was almost hoping for a rub down for 30 minutes, you know. When you've got pain in your back or pain in your shoulder, you just want someone to rub it down and make you feel better, because it does feel great, right? You leave the place, and for the next couple of hours, you feel awesome. Maybe the next day, and then 2 days later, you're like, oh, actually, nothing's really changed. I've got to do the rehab.
That's it. And it's literally that. It's like they've created that window of opportunity. So they've dulled down your pain response from your body, and they've said to you, here's a window, seize the moment, go and do your rehab. And you've got to treat it like training. You see, where most people make a mistake is they see it as two separate entities. It's not. It's part of your training. If you want to bench press and you're not doing your rehab, there is very little chance that your shoulder is going to improve to be able to bench press pain-free. And if you don't make that link, it will, and if the physio is not communicative enough or not good at their skills of sort of connecting the dots, unfortunately, you're just going to see these as a piece of paper or an app or some few exercises that have less importance than what you do, like a bench press movement. How many times have you gone to the gym and said, do you know what, I'm so excited for that bench press?
Every time it's our body day.
Okay, how many times have you gone and picked up that piece of band and said, I'm so excited for that rehab exercise?
Never. I had to lie in bed the other day. I actually lied in bed the other day, and I had to write down. I had my journal in my hands, and I had to write down, I need to do my rehab more consistently, because I'm doing it 3 to 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I should be doing it probably 7 days. And then some days I'll do it. I'll do 3 of the. So you said do 3, at least 3 exercises.
Yeah.
So some days I'll do 3, and then some days I'll do 1, and then some days I'll do 2. But in my head, that's not quite ticking the box. So this week, I've actually held another level of accountability. I've told Nathan, and I told my other half, and I'm telling you on this podcast. I said, like, I'm gonna show you the 7 boxes ticked on a day-to-day basis, because it's very easy to think short term when it comes to rehab, and if it's not better in a day or in a week, or even in that 30-minute rub down, then it's not going to get better. And it can be easy to feel demotivated and lose hope that you will get better. And that's something that's probably worthwhile touching on. Like, how do you deal with that mental aspect of physiotherapy?
So when people come to our clinic, for example, or I have a consultation online, the first thing I do is I send them we talk and we understand why it's so important and what's so important. And then I kind of explain what science with body healing is. If your tendon needs to rehab or get better, it will take 3 months. And if you've had that shoulder issue for 5 years or 4 years ongoing, and you're going to someone and you've gone to see them maybe 3 or 4 times, which is where we see the dip in motivation. So the first 2 to 3 weeks is brilliant, but then right after that, there's that bit of dip coming in. And that's where we say, catch yourself, because this is the perfect point to even sort of launch with more rehab and staying to the same program. The program doesn't need to be fancy. I mean, there's nothing sexy about like physio exercises, you've seen them. It's more about the mental and connecting the dot. And also when people go down that rabbit hole, this is not working for me, or I don't know if this is the right physio, or I don't know if my shoulder's got that injury. You're going to see an expert, first of all, or someone who knows a little bit more than you would in that particular sort of point. They're going to be spending probably 3/4 of their consult asking you specific questions, asking you specific directive questions, which give them an answer and almost do a process of elimination of, well, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, it's definitely this, it could be this, and there's another differential diagnosis. Now, with all that information, they're giving you a time frame. So they're giving you that frame to say, hey, it's going to be 12 weeks. And at 2 weeks, I expect this. At 4 weeks, I expect this. At 6 weeks, I expect this. It's very important, one, for the physio to actually be able to do that and consistently and be able to tell someone, hey, by the way, in 4 weeks, you're going to go down this dip. And it's very normal. It's very acceptable. Let's not ruminate in it too much. Let's not sit there for too long. There's an upcoming. I just want you to trust the process and lean in. It's very much like one of your principles. You know, you'll have a dip in momentum, or you'll have a dip, and that's where you ask your clients to lean in a little bit more, have a higher degree of accountability. Don't go for that cookie or for that piece of sweet that you want to have. Instead, lean in, have an apple, or switch the tactic. So it's all about communication. And the great thing is with online physio is you can have a constant communication. So if you're on the app, you can be talking on a daily basis, which some of the clients will be doing. Some of the clients, when I see they haven't dropped in a message, for me, that's normally a time to say, let me send them a message. So the communication is another aspect. We catch them before they dip into this that pit hole and feel sorry for themselves.
Funny how close the parallels are to the body transformation journey.
Yeah. I think it's all not just body transformation. I think it's any part of life, right?
Yeah, like any progression.
Yeah, like we've had some crazy stories. So if some person came to see us, she spent £10,000 elsewhere with other therapists and physios and going to get specific treatments done, and that was it. She was just getting treatments. No one was really finding out what the root cause of the problem was. But what the back pain was actually helping her do was stay connected to her husband, because her husband actually took care of her, which he wouldn't normally while she was in back pain.
Oh, wow.
So until we unraveled the whole thing, and then sort of, almost did a bit of like a counseling session, even though we're not really qualified to do that. And I kind of got her to see the lights. All I did is show the light and say, look, all you're doing is actually you're spending, this is a person who was on gabapentin, which for those who are not listening, and it's a pain nerve medication where you take a lot of it and it's not really good for the body. And then she was also sipping on morphine. So, like how you and I sip on water, she'd be sipping on morphine.
Wow.
So in 3 months, we were able to completely shift this person, and they're still married, and they're very happily married. So, that's a win. And now the connect is where the why. The physio didn't just have to do another treatment. He had to figure out what was going on. And once he figured out what was going on, it's about connecting the two dots and saying, let's now get this person and coach them through the journey.
How much do you think pain is psychosomatic?
So there's two levels of this. So I think there is a massive psychosomatic element. Pain is a variable of factors, a multitude of factors. So let's just take this lady, for example. Hers was social, family, work. She was sort of not going to work. A lot of it was sort of external factors, but then physiologically, she still had a disc issue. She still had, poor nutrition. She still had chronic inflammation going on. So I think it's part of the thing, but I don't think it's the only thing. So a lot of now people are saying, well, pain is in your head. No, it's not. Actually, there is science to show that there's chronic inflammation. Why else would you have things like CRP markers that are raised, right? Why else would you have markers that show body inflammation in a chronic state being raised if there was nothing physiological going on?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I think would be good to tell the listeners is, before we carry on, what are your credentials personally, and how did you get into this world of physio? Because it's you're not just any old physio. You've really got into the game. You're working with some of the top professionals in sport, and you're the go-to man for many people.
Yeah.
How did Rushabh Savla get into the game?
Yeah. So funny enough, I was actually meant to be a dentist. And I was studying for dental school, and my heart wasn't in it. But at the same time, I was dancing. So I was actually a break dancer. I was one of those guys I'd be flipping from building to building, doing backflips and all that stuff. So it was pretty amazing stuff. And I just loved the idea of human movement and what you can push your body through. So there were times where I was doing a backflip once, and I was doing it sort of 10 to 12 times. And this really hot girl walked past, and I wanted to kind of like show off a little bit. So I did a couple of backflips, and when I landed, I actually snapped my ankles clean.
Oh wow!
And that was literally So I was a little bit cocky just before I injured myself, and then I was in a wheelchair for a few months, and that sort of really laid. I saw the power and the transformative effect of what another human can do for another human. And what pain truly is. I was hooked on tramadol, which is a painkiller that they give you. Now, at the time, it wasn't really heavily regulated, so they'll just give you like 28, whereas you might only need like 7. And I was hooked onto it, and I just started realizing like all the things that people would do to try and sort of stay away from pain. Whereas I started sort of going the other way, and I started accepting pain and seeing it as almost like a guide map. Like if there's too much pain, I'll calm down whatever I was doing. But if there wasn't enough pain, I'd start doing that. And that sort of drew me into what physio really is. And then I went and studied physio in undergrad, St. George's Medical University, and then sort of moved through the NHS. And then during the NHS career, I actually dislocated both my shoulders, again, from dancing and doing like some Tough Mudders and all that kind of stuff. And these are chronic problems that I had for a long time. And then it kind of dawned on me how important what I do really is. If I can do this journey for myself and I am able to help myself through it, because my physios were crap. Don't get me wrong. My physios are absolutely rubbish. I had no physio that really sticks to my mind and says, you know what, I'm so grateful for this person. In fact, I'm grateful for them showing me the way of what not to be, of how not to be as a physio. And then pain and performance. And I started working with sort of some private clubs. I started working in the private world. But it was all focusing on the next time you come in, have I hit my targets? Have I brought in X amount of revenue? Have I brought in the person 6 times in 6 weeks? The focus was not on the person. It was on the problem. And to me, that was a big disconnect. So I almost burnt out the career. I actually wanted to, I was looking at other options. I was looking at like going to like some sort of business job just to kind of like move away from this. But what really sort of spurred me on was actually setting up R&D. So it was either that or go to Australia and do a master's in advanced medicine. And I started becoming like a shoulder expert and then just stayed the course. And yeah, R&D Physio grew and here we are.
So your trigger to start R&D was, you almost didn't start it, essentially.
Well, I actually got kicked out of my NHS job because they were like, you're taking too long to come back in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How long has R&D been alive now in the current?
So in the current well, I think it's going to be 5 years in July, but really for the first year we didn't really do much. So technically 4 years where we really went for it.
Yeah. And how does the R&D process work? What is the methodology for someone inquiring all the way to you actually see them? How does your process differentiate from others that makes it so powerful in healing?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the connection. So the first thing we do is obviously we'll get your details. Either you contact us and we'll get you an appointment booked in. But even prior to the appointment, for the online physio, we have like a certain criteria that you almost need to sort of like a form you need to fill out first of all, which gives us really specific information. It's almost like knowing, is your pain a 5 or a 6? Is your pain sort of dull or sharp? Is your pain sort of stopping you from picking up your kids when you're doing bath time, or is it stopping you from actually like, you know, being intimate with your wife? Like people will put so much detail down you don't realize because they're willing to be heard, because we're the experts. And although we're saying we're the experts, we're also just people on the other side of the room or the other side of the screen. So that's the biggest sort of you could say our USP is that we connect to the person that's opposite us. But I think more than that, we really find out why they want physiotherapists. Why do they want to spend their time? Why do they want to spend their energy? Why do they want to spend their money with us? And that's in the first consult. And we'll do that through subjective questions that we wouldn't ever ask you, you know, why do you want physio? Why do you want this? Why do you want that? But through our own sort of deductions, we'll figure out, okay, this is why this person's sort of coming in. And then what we do is we'll give them so throughout the consult, we will actually love our hands-on therapy. So if you do get a chance, we will do it. But on the online physio side of things, we actually get them to do some self-massage, some self-correction work, and also rehab. And then we sort of pinpoint and map their journey in the first consult. So that none of my physios will ever see, let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Because that's weak. That's someone saying to you, Akash, we're going to come to you, we're going to pay the money. And then you going to them like, okay, well, start on your steps and then we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
You've almost forgotten the nutrition. You've forgotten everything else that R&T offers.
Well, it's not only that, it's most people come to physios and coaches for belief. And
Yeah.
if you say to someone, let's see how it goes, there's no belief there, no confidence in what you do. So if you don't have the confidence, how are they going to have the confidence? Yeah.
And then we have a process where we almost try and get them back in that same week, even if it's an online consult. So we'll try and do what we call a 5-in-2 method, where we're trying to get them to see us more frequently. Now, that's not necessarily from a financial gains perspective. Actually, it's for us to make sure that they're keeping on to the adherence. We're picking up any niggles. Things can change in 2 days. So if I've given you something and I think that it's flared up your pain, I'm not going to expect you to sort of wait a week before you contact me again saying, hey, by the way, what you gave me actually messed me up a whole week before everything's settled down. I'd want to see them much more earlier on. And then the other thing is we would connect to their coaches. So if they're with RNT, we'd connect straight away on the first appointment with Elliot, with Nathan, with Shanita, and say, look, so-and-so have come in. This is what their plan looks like. I'm taking this, and changing it with this. But the goal is to return them back to that exercise. For example, someone might come in and be doing like, well, I can't really do a single leg squat. So we will change something. Or I can't do a lunge, for example. It hurts when I lunge. We'll change that up to something different. And then we'll say, this is the time frame to return back to that lunge. So it's not about who's right. It's about what's best for this person. And let's work as a collective rather than saying, I'm the physio, you're just a personal trainer.
Yeah.
You're just a coach. And then the other thing is having respect for that person. So the respect bit is firmly sort of in our core values. And it's about being transparent and honest and saying, look, I don't think this is changing. And if it's not changing, let's signpost you to experts. So for example, someone's shoulder's not improved in 3 months. You're going to go and see a shoulder specialist. I don't want to leave you hanging. I don't want to say to you, okay, sorry, unfortunately, nothing works. And then you sort of go away, go back to your life and just say, well, my shoulder's like this. I'm going to live like this for the rest of my life. The whole process is very streamlined in that we know exactly where we are and the client knows exactly where they are. And we hold them accountable and they hold us accountable. And the idea to have this whole connectivity almost improves our relationship. We end up leaving as friends, and that's not how we start. When you start medical school, they always tell you, try not to become friends with your patients, try not to become pals with people, and don't do any of that. I think communication is our USP.
Amazing. And on the topic of working with coaches and seeing a lot of people who take their training very seriously, they're looking to transform their body. What are some of the most common issues you see in those who are training hard, whether it's the regular gym folk or those who are taking it very seriously and have structured programs?
Yeah, I think the structured programs, they're great. These guys are like looking for that 1%. They're the progressive mindset. They've got the guys like you who walk around with a training log in the gym. Yeah, those are the guys we love, because we would hardly see them. But when we do see them, it's because they've followed that same rule where they've done too much, too fast, too soon. So that's with any injury. Most musculoskeletal injuries would be something too much, something too fast, or something that's too soon. For example, someone who we're currently seeing jump from a 25 kg incline dumbbell press, and they moved up to 27. And for most of us, we would think, actually, you know what, that's okay, that's acceptable. But they went ahead and did the same amount of reps, or they did the same amount and the same tempo as well. That in itself probably triggered something. Now, the frustration here is that this person was progressing, and then they hit a roadblock.
Yeah.
That roadblock is that their shoulders are not designed to go any heavier, or they haven't prepped their shoulder enough, or they haven't built that rotator cuff stability, they haven't built that proprioception in the shoulders to get over to the next stage. And for a lot of the guys, their strength gains will go so rapidly, right? Like some of the guys who start, for example, they'll improve quite rapidly. But then what the problem is, they're excited on that journey and they won't use the rule of 10%. So I always say 10% or even just progressive overload, use that 1.25 plate, that little plate that sits in the gym that most blokes do not know how to use because they see it as a sign of weakness, right?
Yeah.
And I think the most common injuries where we would see for some of these training guys, the guys who had their training logs and stuff, are things like shoulders. Every other part of the body may improve quite rapidly, but shoulders is a big common one. And most of the ones who are training heavy do pick up injury. You're on a borderline. You're on a borderline of pain and performance.
Yeah.
And every now and then, it's okay to go into the pain side of things. It's just to humble you. It's just to tell you, actually, you've got prep work to be done before you go back into performance phase. But it's not that I'm going to be this and this is it. I've seen people like yourselves leave the gym. And that to me is a failure, not on the person, but on the physio who is helping them or the health professional who's helping them.
Yeah. I've always thought if you train hard and you train progressively and you rack up the years, your injuries are going to accumulate just by default. And it's because you keep crossing that barrier of, okay, if I go from 48 to 50 kilos, one muscle in my body may not be ready for those 50 kilos, but because of that one muscle, everything else breaks down. And I'm assuming that's what you mean by every barrier that to get over to the next level, you need to prep your body, whether it's one muscle or 5 muscles, in order to do that. And that's where the conundrum of pain and performance comes into play. And potentially why physio is not only reactive, but proactive as well.
That's it. So I was just going to come on to that. It would be someone like you would want to come and see a physio and discuss this during your, or join up an online consult and say, actually, look, these are my pain points and I know I feel weak around here. A niggle is just sometimes, it's a warning. What is pain? Pain is a warning. It's a warning system designed by our body saying, hey, buddy, watch out. Or hey, buddy, have a think about this one. And it's the same thing with your shoulder. Now, I don't necessarily buy into the whole 1 muscle, 5 muscles thing, because I feel our body is so complex. We're still figuring out what actually is happening. And literally research is still figuring out what happens. Really? I know that there are things you can do to bulletproof your shoulders, for example, for this person. There are rehab drills that he can use and progressively use them as training. When I give people rehab, I always say to them, use this like you train. Like, if you're going to be putting your blinkers on, listen to some Tupac, your rehab can be part of this. And I mean, most people would laugh at me, but your rehab is actually meant to be intense. Now, I'm not saying go mad at your rehab and like start like going crazy, but actually use that.
I'll take you sniffing salts before rehab sessions.
Yeah, sniffing salts before rehab. That'll be a first. But yeah, there are people who will be surprised. There are guys in the gym who you could probably see and you'd be like, wow, these guys are tough. Get them to do a push-up or get them to do a certain movement that involves one arm movements, for example. And all of a sudden they're unable to put their body weight through it. I've got a 3 kilo dumbbell here. Some blokes will be unavailable to sort of even just be able to do a specific movement with the 3 kilos, but they're happy to be lifting lateral raise for 12 kilos at a time. So it's about bulletproofing your shoulder, about understanding it, and also about understanding the whole relationship between pain and performance. And it's acceptable to be injured. Don't put yourself in a box where I'm injured so I can't train. And these are the guys who we would love to see, because when they stop training at their peak, they see it as a sign of big weakness, or they see it as a sign, most of them anyway, see it as a sign of they've done something wrong. It's going to be like this forever. They start losing, that log goes missing. They become demotivated, and all of a sudden it's just a spiral.
Can you speak about that a bit more, in that we hear often, I'm injured now, so I can't train, I can't do anything. But my answer has always been, there's always something you can do, and you can always work around it, and you can focus on what you can control. Yep. But speak to them as a physio. What is the professional opinion here?
I totally think you're right. I think you, as a health coach, I think the one thing you've nailed here is movement is medicine. So any type of movement is good for you. For example, someone comes into my clinic with acute lower back pain, that back pain that makes you want to scream with every movement. I gave the guy bicep curls, and I tricked his brain to allow him to just breathe and relax. All I gave the guy was bicep curls for his lower back pain. And it automatically got his back pain moving. It automatically got him sort of getting a lot more relaxed, settle his shoulders down, focused on his breathing, got him into that better mindset. When he left, we didn't even touch the back, but his back felt 10 times better than if I'd just gone and just done hands-on treatment, this and that and the other. So for these people, what I would say to them is, no, you're injured is not an excuse. It's not an excuse, but it is an excuse to get connected with someone who can help. It's an excuse to be accountable to your coach for all the other areas, and don't let the injury start affecting things like your steps, things like, things like your nutrition, things like your hydration, things like your mindset. And just have a look before that injury happened. This is where Manmeet sort of has come into it, and I think you've had her on a couple of podcasts before. And I've done a couple of courses with her, and she uses this rule where you almost become a little bit cocky before your injury, and there is science behind this as well.
Really?
But I think there is definitely science behind this, but there's also that sort of feeling of going, like for a sprinter, you think Usain Bolt thinks he is the baddest runner on the planet? He probably does. But when he starts running, he's relaxed. Most people, when we start doing like, okay, I'm psyched to bench press this 50 kilos, I'm psyched. I'm super pumped. I'm super humbled. I'm like, I mean, not humbled. I'm super sort of going to go for it. That's when they go and injure themselves.
Crazy, because before I hurt my shoulder recently, I was telling everyone I'm in the best training period of my life.
Yeah.
For years, like this is the best run I'm on. Like I'm heading into all-time territory at 10 kilos less body weight.
Yeah,
this is the best it's going. 2 weeks later, I'm out of commission.
Yeah. And how many months before did we speak about your shoulder?
No comment.
But this is the thing. These are injuries that will sort of plague you for life. Like I've had shoulder surgeries, and you have pain. Pain is part of life.
So for the listeners, Rushabh and I, we delivered a seminar in Nairobi back in end of October, and it was called the Bulletproof Body Transformation Seminar. One day was about body transformation, and one day was about staying bulletproof. And he used me as a demo for multiple different shoulder exercises and demonstrations. And he knows I have a clicky shoulder, and there's certain pain I get. And he asked me to do this rehab and said, like, I need to look at your shoulder when we get back to London. And I was like, yeah, it'll be fine. Like this, I can still press, and I can still press heavy. And then just gradually over the course of the weeks, I just felt it a little bit more. And then around Christmas time, I was starting to feel it even more. And then it got to January, and Rushabh kept saying, when are we going to come see you? I'm like, yeah, soon. And then I think it was the end of Feb. I just sent him like a 5-minute voice note. Rushabh, I've completely messed up. I can't do anything. I can't even move my shoulder. I can't even move my arm up.
So before lockdown, so it's like, wow, this is going to be interesting. So yeah, I think the key here, the message here, even just from your own experience, is the signposting is the biggest thing. If you talk to your coach, they'll be able to signpost you. If you talk to us, we'll be able to signpost you back to your coach, because the idea is that we're here to help you through your journey. So we're here to guide you through that journey, and we're here to sort of accelerate that journey in every possible hack that we have in our arsenal. Now, if I can give you 3 hacks and say to you, go smash a shoulder workout, but before that, go and smash these hacks, you're more likely to link the two up, and you're more likely to sort of be less injured. And again, going back to what you just said, it's about getting yourself looked at from a holistic point of view. I mean, how much does it suck not being able to bench press?
It sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, of course it sucks. Like it's it's only one body part I can't train, which is my chest. But it's for me, it doesn't feel like an upper body workout complete.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the key.
Yeah, and you're a creature of routine. You're a creature of habit. For you, having a workout and not having a bench press or a chest movement exercise in it, and instead doing band work, doesn't cut it, mate. Right.
The crazy thing is, I moved to a new gym, and I got there, and the first thing I was looking at is like, do they have what do the dumbbells go up to? And I get there, and the dumbbells go up to 60. Right. Firstly, it's brilliant, but also the better thing is, in my previous gym, it went from 50 kilos to 55, so there was always a big jump. And I could get 55s for a couple of reps, but it wasn't worth doing a proper set on. But now they had the 50, 52, 54, 56, and I was getting so excited. I was like, this is perfect. I haven't actually been able to use them.
Yeah. You know what? That will change. But now you've got the perfect time period. Although we're in a lockdown, I'm saying to people, this is the perfect time to iron out your issues. This is the perfect time to, 1, get in touch, 2, make sure that you've got a plan in place. And don't just get in touch with a physio. Get in touch with a health coach like yourselves. Get in touch with a mindset coach. Get in touch with being able to sort of help your own self. This 3 months is almost like a gift from like the universe saying, hey, by the way, or 3 or 4 months, whatever, use this time for your own personal improvements. Whether it's, I want to sleep more, I want to help my family more, I want to be able to do more things. And it's a scary thing out there that most people are going through. Like, let me not paint the picture sort of, all beauty and perfect, but the key here is you're still in control.
Yeah.
You choose to be.
So Rushabh, let's do an exercise here. I want you to take the listeners through some movement screens or potential drills that they can work on as a diagnostic tool. Because I'm sure everyone listening is into training. Okay.
Yep.
They've all probably got some sort of niggle. Everyone's got a niggle in some form.
Okay.
Let's go through the most common ones you see. So I'm assuming shoulder, knee.
We'll start with shoulder first then. So
let's just imagine you're not looking at me and it's just,
I've minimized you.
Okay.
As beautiful as you are, I'll put you right. So I'm going to go for shoulder screen. So say if you're just standing and you're facing the mirror, I want you to get your hands by your sides and you're going to go sideways all the way to the top until your thumbs touch each other. Now, during that movement, try to do 5 or 6 reps and let me know if you feel any restriction, any discomfort, any sort of irritation. Okay, if you do...
To recap, sorry, you're going to hands by your sides and you're moving them up towards your shoulder.
Exactly, all the way up to the top of the shoulder and then bring it back down.
Okay, yeah.
We call this abduction, or people would call it lateral raise. Imagine you're doing a lateral raise, but you're going all the way up instead of just going down. Again, these are with no weights, right? Yeah. The second movement I want you to do is I want you to do a flexion movement. So I want you to go above your head. So going straight, imagine you're going to shake someone's hand, but you're going all the way to the top and then you're bringing it back down. Okay. Now, if you feel any niggles or if you feel any sort of, just make a note of it. All you have to do is literally write 0 or 1. If there was some discomfort, it's a 0. Even if it's the slightest amount of discomfort, it's a 1, sorry. So if any discomfort is a 1, any sort of, if it was clear, it's a 0. The second thing we're going to do is imagine you're doing what we call external rotation. So arms out abducted, which is into that lateral raise position. Then I want you to imagine your fingers have to go towards the ceiling, but your elbow stays where it was. So this is one movement that most people are horrible at. And I use that word horrible because they can't do this, but what they're trying to do with their shoulders is by bench pressing heavy, by creating all sorts of forces going through that shoulder joint. And the last exercise I want you to do is, again, make sure you put that 1 or 0, is hand behind back. Are they the same? Do they feel the same? Okay, and once you've done that, you can sort of score yourself out of 10. Now, out of 4, sorry. Most people will probably be able to get a 2 out of 4. So you're only as good as 50% of the range in your shoulder.
So Rushabh, does a 1 mean no pain, or does 1 mean?
No, one means discomfort, pain, whatever you want to call it. Okay. So one is something.
Or it means you can't actually do the range.
Yeah, or you can't do the range, or something's not right. One feels different to the other.
Okay. And a good score, I'm assuming, is 4. It has to be 4.
It has to be 4. Like, let's not. If your listeners and anyone who's listening wants to train pain-free and effectively, or you have to be a 4.
Okay, and now let's dive into each of those deeper. Mm-hmm. What would be some? And this is, again, it's very difficult to generalize, but I'm sure you have some things you always see. If someone is reporting pain in the flexion, so the first one where you're standing on your hands by your sides.
So a lot of times we'll think the long-headed biceps is at play here. So most of us sit with the forward-headed position of our shoulder. Now, some critics and some physios will say, well, posture doesn't matter. I do believe posture has a place to play in every injury, but I don't think it's the most important. Now, for some people, that's probably more of like a long-headed biceps injury where their shoulder is just sitting a little bit more forward than I would like when they train. So for that, I would give them rehab and I would get them to sort of work on their rotator cuff, or I'd get them to sort of think about retraction of the shoulder blades. Most of the people that I have seen in the gym have a fundamental flaw in any scapular exercises or scapular mobility, or understanding the relationship between the scapula and the shoulder, for example. I wouldn't say there's a big relationship. There's too much focus on it, but I would say you need to be able to learn how to scoop the shoulder blade. Okay. Shall I explain to you in simple terms what that means?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Okay. So scooping of the shoulder blade is, imagine you're doing a pull-up.
Yeah.
But what I've asked you to do is I've asked you to scoop your shoulders towards each other and down towards your back pocket.
Okay. So like the initiation of the movement,
that's exactly right.
Compression.
That's exactly right. So you're basically retracting your shoulder blades, so pulling them back. You're bringing them towards each other, and you bring them down towards your back pocket.
Got it. So shoulders back and down, yeah.
Back and down. Now that's the movement. Now most people struggle with it. I mean, we've had technique workshops and people who've been sort of so-called veterans or experts, even they struggle with this.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the one movement. The second movement is a push-up. I want you to do a complete push-up, and I want you to tell me whether you get pain or not. Okay. So again, it's giving me a score out of 0 and 1. And the third movement I like doing is the overhead press. So I just want you to get into that overhead press position, do it with no weights. I just want you to go up and down and tell me what you feel. Okay, so this is more of a subjective question. This is where I get people just report to me my left feels a bit weird, my right feels a bit weird. And people say to us, yeah, it feels weird. And I look at it and I'll say, actually, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah.
So that's just your shoulder. Let's move. Are you happy with the shoulder?
Yeah. So to recap, you got the 4 different tests. And then based on that, there's 3 different exercises which can help you.
Yep. 3 or 4 exercises which can help you.
Skipping, push up, and overhead press. But are they further diagnostics, or they're not the
There
rehab?
So there are further diagnostics as well, but I think they can be used as rehab.
Okay.
So a lot of this is like, it's a mixture. So it's never one size fits all. It's more like, let's try this and let's see how irritable your shoulder gets.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we maintain the irritability levels? Yes, we can. For everyone listening here, I'm going to talk about pain and the last little bit of section today, but it's going to be interesting if you hang on. In terms of the wrist mobility, all I want to see is a flexion extension. So can you cock your wrist up? Can you bend it down? Do they look the same on both sides? And can you do a push-up hold position? So can you hold your wrists in a push-up position? Cool. The second thing I would get them to do is normally a squat, and just feel where you feel a restriction when you squat. And you don't have to go all the way down. So that's a bit of a myth about the whole ass to grass. Most blokes in the gym want to go down there. Unfortunately, if you're sitting for long periods of time in your gym, in your chair, it will be one that you have to sort of master. So all I'd look for here is what feels tight, what feels restricted, does it hurt? And that's about it.
Okay.
And then the more important one is I'm just going to look at your single leg squat. So it's like doing a knee dip where you stand on one leg and you're going to get, you're going to knee, actually, you're going to just dip. So left leg, for example, left knee going over. Now I'm looking for 3 or 4 things here. I'm looking for what's happening at your foot. Can you even hold your body weight? And can you even balance? Most people will say, oh, I've got shit balance. Excuse the French. But I would say, no, you just haven't trained it well. Every joint in our body has what we call mechanoreceptors, which are like a car parking sensor. Have you got one of those cars that's got a parking sensor? Have you been in one of those cars that's got a parking sensor? Yeah. It will tell you how far away from a wall you are. I say the same thing with these things, but these receptors will tell you how far you are away from actually tipping over. For example, your ankle. It'll tell your brain, fire this muscle or these muscle groups, and you'll be able to correct yourself again. And I think with a single leg squat, we look for, is my knee dipping inwards? So is my knee going towards the other knee? Am I able to hold my trunk? Am I able to have good balance when I do this? And that's a simple thing, 3 things that I look at. And that can tell me a lot about your core, about your hip strength, about your knee mobility, and about you as a person. Can you even connect to your ankle? Most of us have forgotten how to connect to each part of our body. And then the other thing I'd do is lunge. So I'd see what the lunge looks like. I've seen some horrific lunges, and I've seen some really good lunges. So I always look at that, and I again review it. What you're looking for is that 90-90 rule for most lunges, where the knee can bend at 90 and the back knee stays at 90 as well. For some of us who are advanced, you can actually throw your knee a lot more forward. And some people will email and say, well, I've heard that knee going over your toes is a bad thing. Yeah. So I think we got to definitely clear that one up. That's definitely not bad. It's actually how your knees meant to work. Try sit up with your knees straight. Like try sit up at 90 degrees and try stand with your knees not going past your toes before you stand. Try climb the stairs without your knee going past your toes. Try and get up from the toilet without your knees going past your toes. Try pick up something off the floor without your knees going past your toes. Myth debusted.
Yeah.
Right.
It's I think for most people, it highlights, if they get pain from that, doesn't it highlight that they're just very weak in their VMOs and in the actual...
I'm going to quash another myth. There's nothing about like a VMO. There's enough studies done to show whether the activation of the VMO really helps the kneecap or not. Or
there you go. You're busting my own myths.
Yeah. It's sorry, mate. There's nothing like a specific muscle controlling a specific movement. It's more as a collective, are they robust enough to take your load through that position or through that movement? And so, yeah, I would say, all pain is telling you is let's just get strong a little bit, or let's just see what we're doing and let's modify it. Let's regress it a little bit before we progress it.
So what I've taken from this is if you're showing symptoms of pain, the first thing to do is run through all these diagnostics to give you an idea of a little bit closer to what may be causing it. But after that, it's too individual and it's too much beyond our own subjectivity and our own scope to be able to do this without a professional. So that's where you come in. But for anyone listening to this podcast, the basic diagnostics you can run through if you're feeling pain in any area would be the shoulder four-way, the four-way shoulder test, the wrist extension and flexion, the wrist push-up, the squat, the lunge, and the single leg dip. Are they the key ones? Yeah. So we'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah, they're the key ones. I think we've got a couple of others that we use for our own movement screen, which is the online version. And one of them I would like to add here is a spinal flexibility, which is a forward bend, a backward bend. So it's you standing, and I want you to bend it forward, and I want you to bend backwards, and I want you to rotate sideways. So I want you to bend sideways, and I just want you to twist your spine. Just standing there, I want you to turn around like someone's called you from behind, but your hips are still facing forward. Okay, so all you're looking over here is, again, how is that spine? Is there a niggle? Do we feel tightness? Tightness is a sensation. It's not an injury. It's not something that you should go and get massage done for all the time. It feels nice, don't get me wrong. I love something that if someone says to me, I feel tight, and I do a quick release, and I can do anything. There's been times where I've used a spoon. Have you seen those videos where you see people scraping with different tools and stuff like that? Yeah, I use a spoon. Like literally it's the same thing. Now these kits are sold at 200, 300 pounds a blade. I use a proper stainless steel spoon, and it does the same job. Okay, all I've done is just given that guy that interruption to his pain, and he's felt great. He's walked out of my clinic feeling amazing.
Yeah, you get those buffalo scrapers or all sorts, right? I've seen them as well. They were a big thing a couple of years ago. They were like 300-400 quid a pop.
There's a Theragun now. The Theragun's now come into play.
What's the deal with the Theragun? Is it?
Yeah.
How you know? I was looking at it the other day.
Yeah, I know, and it's great. It's like a great percussion tool, and all it is someone just vibrating that massage into that sort of muscle. And all you're doing is basically creating blood flow. So going back to my tightness thing, if I introduce blood flow back into that tightness area, your nerves are going to get nourished, the muscles are going to get nourished, the pains are going to sort of go away temporarily. All of a sudden, you just used your tightness and you've thrown all these passive treatments in it, and you've got it temporarily better. But if I got you stronger, you naturally get blood flow to it. You naturally get the nerves innervated. You naturally start sending pain signals down. For example, your shoulder. I gave you specific exercises that require your tendon to go through isometric exercises. This is basically like paracetamol type exercises for your tendon. And I got you to go to a 3 out of 10 pain, a 4 out of 10 pain. And I said, don't push that threshold, but definitely get to it. What you're doing here is you're modulating the pain in your body, or the level of pain in your body. And these are for all the chronic lifters in the gym, anyone with gym injuries, or anyone with even acute injury. I'll just say to you, just do that tendon exercise, make sure it's working, and tell me what that tightness sensation, that pain sensation, and what happens to it. And if you do it the right amount and the right way, you're bound to have reduction in pain, which will allow you to work towards performance.
Interesting. So you're saying embrace the pain in order to get to performance, but only a certain level of pain, because that's what your tendons need in order to actually recover.
Yeah, I think a 4 out of 10 pain, 5 out of 10 pain, I think for some of us who love pain, I think is good enough. And just don't try and read too much about it. It's your body, you're working out. Like some of the guys who are going to start R&T, for example, you've been desk bound, unhealthy, you've had things in your life that stopped you from going for your ideal lifestyle. And you're changing things very rapidly. In 3 months, you're loading, you're shifting, you're walking, your nutrition, you're hydrating. Your body's about to give you a wake-up call and say, oh, no, all these years, you've done it this way. Now you're throwing this three months or 6 months or 1 year of all this stuff. Give me a time to adjust. Give me a time to sort of, get my tendon to change structure. Let me throw more collagen on the area. Let me sort of adapt. And let your body adapt. Let your body adapt to a bit of pain. Let your body actually, what I say to someone is when they're in pain, I say, look, for 3-4 weeks, just do a little bit of movement, keep going, and then book yourself in if things are not improving. If you do the things the right way, which is too much, too fast, too soon, look where the problem was, take that problem out, then say to yourself, actually, I took the problem out and I readjusted it and I'm still not getting any better, get in touch.
How can people be more proactive with their physio and pain and performance management?
Where everyone goes for an MOT for their cars and their dentists and their pharmacists, or go and pick up my prescriptions. You can do the same with physios. There's no reason why you can't go to see a physio even though you're not in pain, and that's the preventative side of things. In the nicest way possible, I don't want you to see you in my clinic. I want to see you go and live your life, or your best version of your life, or however cliche that sounds. It's exactly what R&D stands for. So people could come in like quarterly. People could come in or even have a movement screen online and say to them, this is a program I'm setting us up. Let's communicate. Let's just send emails every quarter or every month or every 2 months. And we have a service that's already inbuilt and ready for that. So it's about you creating a relationship with someone on the other side who understands you and understands your goals, and also understands how you want to get there, and then guides you. And that's what we do at R&D, just guide you.
Amazing. I want to bust a few myths. Before we go into my shoulder, I want to bust a few myths here.
Yeah, go for it.
And you touched on it earlier, what is the deal with posture? Because there's some people that say posture is everything, and there's others who say it doesn't matter. What is the deal with it? And how important is it to have good posture, whatever that may mean?
Yeah, I think it's, everyone's working from home right now, right?
Yeah.
And if you weren't working from home and now you have, all of a sudden you're going to be having niggles, aches, back pains, and all that stuff. It's actually the time spent being in a posture. So me hunched over like that has actually caused me to have a bit of upper trap issues. But as soon as I go downstairs, pick up 2 kettlebells and just do some shrugs, that pain's gone away. It's not about posture, it's the time spent in these postures. If I was crouching all day long and I spent my whole day crouching, and I would have some discomfort when I try and get standing and get moving again. If everyone does an exercise where they hold their fist, tense it as hard as you can, try and maintain that for 24 hours now, of course you're going to be in some level of discomfort. And a lot of us, unfortunately, are doing that by spending too much time in one posture. I would say there is some areas where posture does matter. For me, shoulders are a big thing. Body, just the way you stand, is a big thing. And it's about connecting the dots. Like if someone tells you, hey, by the way, you've got crap posture, but doesn't tell you everything else about it and why it's going to affect you and how it's already affecting you. And some people just use it as a way to kind of like get people in their clinics. For example, you've got knee pain. I think it's down to your ankle and the way your hips sit and the way your spine is aligned and this and that, the other. I don't buy into that. Were you there and did you see how his posture was when his knee was injured? Try and see it as a collective. It might be a place where we can focus on. If you want to aesthetically look better and have a broader shoulder, we know from research that if I get you to do work on your back a little bit more, you'll naturally start pulling your shoulders a bit back. That way your chest will show a little bit more. For people who go to get passive treatments all the time, these are the guys who stay on stage. Like you competed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What are some of the criteria they would say to you? Was posture a big part of it?
Symmetry and presentation was, yeah.
There you are. But that's because you're a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm just, going to coming home, lifting, training, doing everything else, but really, I have a shoot maybe or something like that. But apart from that, no one else is judging me from the way my posture or symmetry is. Does it really matter? Why are we spending so much more time talking about posture? Why don't we talk about other things that matter, which is what can I do with that posture? What can I do with improving my flexibility? What can I do with improving my strength? And the whole posture thing, there's a big debate going on in the physio world as well, where some people think it's the end all and be all. Some people think, well, it is what it is. Let's just move forward.
What about the next one? You just touched on it, flexibility.
Oh, I love flexibility. Ivan, as you call him. I think there needs to be his version, and there needs to be another version. So for those who don't know, Ivan is like this guru of flexibility. He's an R&T coach himself, but he's also
Freak, right?
a freak of nature. But I love it. I think you can see the gymnast in him always comes out, and he's a perfect breed. My personal goal would be to be as mobile as him, as flexible as him, but as strong as him as well at the same time. I think his strength parallels and flexibility parallels goes to show you that being a bit more flexible isn't a bad thing. In fact, it enhances performance.
One thing he always says, he actually said on his podcast, was that strength is one of the key drivers for flexibility.
Yes. If you want to improve flexibility, make sure you do it through a loaded flexibility posture, or put some load through things. If you want to, like, I'll have a 50 or 60-year-old guy coming with knee pain. All I'm doing is making him flexible by doing his strength work, though.
Yeah.
With strength and flexibility, they don't say as separate entities. Everything's all combined. It's literally Akash Vagela's dad's chicken curry, all different spices added together in one space.
Yeah. So it's not a case of rolling around on a foam roller then. What's the deal with those?
I think they give you what we call a trichotrophic effect. It's basically an effect where you're increasing the tightness. It's the same thing. You're just increasing blood flow to the area for temporarily.
Okay.
You know, nice. Don't get rid of it, but don't think that's the way to get my flexibility better. Speak to Ivan. Look up look up people who are good at flexibility routines, and I think you guys have got some great content out there on flexibility. So people should just stay tuned for more videos, and we'll be putting out some videos for you guys as well.
What about sitting on standing desks?
Oh, I love standing desks. I regret not buying one because now I'm sitting down. But again, you know, are we that glued to a laptop that we are not able to just go outside and enjoy this beautiful sunshine for 5 minutes? Are we not able to just drop downstairs and to go for a walk, or go for like a minute walk and then come back?
We are right now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're right now, but
we aren't allowed right now. But
but yes, I think they're great. I think they're great, but I think they're sold at ridiculous prices, because I just looked out for one right now.
I'll send you a link. So I got the standing bit separate to the top tabletop.
Okay.
And it was reasonably priced, about £200. So
yeah,
I mean, it's not cheap. Not cheap by any means, but it is good to vary your day, I think.
It is. And I think for those who are very good in big on productivity and have productivity as part of their lifestyle, for example, I think it's a phenomenal thing to be having. At the same time, don't just say, just because I bought a standing desk. I mean, I have guys who have standing desks and still got back problems or still got like issues. So it's not the answer. It's something that if you think you need it and you're going to use it, it's like a foam roller. It just sits there half the time.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've realized. So I intersperse it with sitting, because I think, like you said earlier, if I only stand, then I start getting pain in my knees and it just feels uncomfortable. Whereas the finding the balance is probably the best thing.
And do what suits you. Don't do it just because Akash does it. Don't do it because Rushabh said, "Oh, go and buy a standing desk."
Yeah.
Do what suits your lifestyle and what you want out of it.
What about yoga?
Oh, I love it. If there was any bodybuilder or weight trainer in the gym or newbie, I'll say to them, go and get yourself hooked up with a virtual yoga at the moment. But even when this passes, go and put a yoga class into your lifestyle. It's not just the physical stuff. I think, most people think of yoga as the physical stuff. I'm quite into my spiritual way of life, and yoga, if you look back and look at the history of it, it's actually ways and tools to help not just with your whole physical approach, but illnesses, things that help your mindset, things that help you stay in that optimum lifestyle. And if you're really keen, I'm more than happy to share some of the stuff that I've learned over the years. But definitely put it as part of your thing, your routine.
Okay, and to what level? Is this something someone can do like once a week for 20 minutes, or does it need to be done on a more regular basis?
I think daily. I think if you're really looking at yoga from the essence, the true essence of yoga, it's lifestyle. It's like drinking water. So do it if you're going to do it that seriously. If you just want to do it for the mobility and stuff, just choose a flexibility routine. Don't confuse it with yoga.
Okay, so yoga is more for spiritual and mental benefits, you feel?
It's for everything. It's a lifestyle change. That in itself is a lifestyle change. And I think the world has made too much money on yoga mats and all this stuff, and yoga in itself. And we Westerners have always moved away from what true yoga was intended for. And it's not a bash between who's better, who's right, who's wrong. It's just, the spinal flexibility or kind of like a hip flexibility or a shoulder flexibility routine can serve you just as well. So you don't necessarily need to say, "Oh, I'm doing yoga." you're doing something. Just call it that.
Last one, last potential myth or topic to validate. What about, when you see people stretching and they pull their anchor up to stretch their quad out, or they cross their arm across their chest to stretch their shoulder? Is there any validity in that, or are they wasting their time?
So unless you're doing it for things like 30 seconds, it's pointless. And even if you are doing it for 30 seconds, it's the immediate effect, and that's the only one that lasts 20 minutes. Like Ivan said it as well, and like you said it earlier, it's more about the loaded flexibility that we're after. So doing that kind of stuff makes you feel good. Does it help your lifts and performance? Nah.
So the real key is getting good at split squats, getting good at RDLs.
Perfect.
And all similar exercises, training in a full range of motion to
Yeah.
whatever you can do effectively.
Yeah.
Under control is the best.
Yeah, exactly. And use flexibility and range as a marker, as well as not just strength. Oh, I've lifted. You were quick to point it out one time when I sent you my split squat videos. I was using 30s, I think, and I was doing split squats, and I was doing 6 reps, but I was going maybe 3/4 of the way. And you said it yourself, actually, no, you need to go all the way down. So use range as a marker as well, not just, I'm going to do it, but my form or my range isn't as good as it should be.
Is there a case of working in the range you can do so safely versus working in what's perceived as full range of motion?
Yes. So it's about what your body allows you to do, right? If I'm not going to go today and do an Ivan split where my body can't handle it, I'll probably be in agony for days.
Yeah.
Let me progressively overload in a stretching program. And I think progressive overload is applicable to every part of your life, not physically, but mentally as well. So this is part of it. The flexibility part of it, the range part of it is all progressive overload.
Absolutely. I get people ask me all the time, should I be going as low as you do on RDLs? I'm like, no, don't do that.
I remember when we trained, do you remember that? And I was like, we were struggling in that gym in Kenya. It was a brand spanking new gym, but I think the setup of the gym couldn't allow you to do your full range.
Yeah, I just couldn't get low enough. But
I was happy. I was perfectly fine. That was perfect for me.
But I get asked all the time, like, I tried to do your range and I couldn't do it. I was like, I'm glad, don't do it because you're going to hurt yourself.
That's exactly right. I think, and the thing is, they see you as a benchmark, whereas they need to stop seeing that. They need to see themselves as a benchmark, and then get in touch with a physio or get in touch with someone like a coach who will tell you, the videos that you send to your coach. They are so crucial because they will tell your coach whether you've got the ability to do something like an RDL up to Akash's or not.
Absolutely. To finish off this podcast, I want you to I want you to take the listeners through what it's like to go through an online physio consult. Because for many people, it's very, very foreign. I think online coaching in a transformational body composition view is now starting to be seen as accepted. Whereas physio, the first thing you think of is the physio bed, you're getting your shoulder rubbed down, and then you might get a couple of exercises with a little pink dumbbell at the end. That's the stereotype physio. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
walk us through a consult. So most people are going to be listening to this on a podcast. So take that into consideration. So we are going to try and get this on YouTube as well. So for those of you who want to see this or listening, we'll skip to the end. We'll have the timestamps below and just go to this bit so you can see how Rushabh goes through an online physio. But just take me through how it would work and use my shoulder as an example.
Perfect. So we've already got Akash booked into the system, but what I would say is we get them booked into the system. Then you get a notification in your email inbox that sits there, and it's a Zoom call. We also have our own software that does online physio consults with the camera, and we'll do a whole assessment online. So I would ask him questions. So the first 15 to 20 minutes, I actually already know what's going on because you fill out your form. I would just re-emphasize on some of those questions, figure out what's going on. And then from there, I would deduce and I would get him to perform a couple of movement checks. So very similar to a movement screen. And I would get him to do that. And from there, we will start our rehab program. At the same time, I'm connecting it to his program. So I'm connecting to why you're doing something. For example, Akash, you're struggling with your shoulder today. So Akash, today I'm actually going to test you out a little bit. If I get you to lift your hand above your head, okay, do you get that clunking that you were in your first session? And is there sharp pain going into that position at all?
So you want me to come in on a flexion?
On a flexion, yep.
No sharp pain today.
Okay, all right, fine.
But not as sharp pain as when we first
met. And if I just get you to hold your shoulder out for me in that sort of flexion position in front of you, like your shoulder height, get the other hand and place it on top. Yep. And then just want you to push into your hand. So get the other hand to resist and stop it from going anywhere.
Thumb up, thumb down?
Thumb up is better. Yep. And then just push it across and see, can you get that sensation coming on?
There is that pain in the bone area.
Yeah. So it's exactly. So it's the ACJ area pain. And I would expect that. So at this stage. So
that neck click.
Exactly. And for you, that neck click is almost like an associated behavior that you've had with that shoulder for years, and not just the injury, I think, prior to that. So Akash, what we're going to do then is actually look at your program and look at your rehab. When I get you doing the band exercise, the one that you pull up into a scaption position, which is slightly away from flexion, I want you to just hold it. But how many seconds are you holding it for at the moment?
3 seconds?
Yeah, so I want to go up to like around 5 seconds. Even just the change in 2 seconds over the reps and the ranges and the sets that you're going to be doing will make a big difference. So I've just increased your time on that program. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get you starting shoulder presses, but I'm going to get you to put your shoulder in optimum position with 5 kilos and then start shoulder pressing. The reason why we can still shoulder press, because we're not aggravating that specific area. You just have to be very conscious with your mind. And this is where you use your mind muscle connection. So you'll be taking your shoulder into that position, know exactly where you are, then start pressing into your overhead press, and then slowly bring down. And what you're trying to feel is that shoulder blade, the shoulders, and you're just feeling things, and you're seeing what hurts and what doesn't. Again, the rule will apply to you, which is that 4 out of 10 pain, which is what I want you to sort of maintain your rehab on. Yeah.
How many reps in sets?
So you'll be doing around, I think for you, the 5 kilos is a great weight. I think let's just stick to around 12 and 3. So we're going to get 12 reps done in 3 sets. The idea is that you could easily do 15, or you could easily do 20 in 3 sets. I'm not here to build strength as such. I'm here to kind of get the movement happening first. I think the strength will happen over time. The hypertrophic changes will happen over time. But for that, someone like you will need a heavier weight. The other thing we're going to do is I'm going to sort of mark into my diary. We're going to have another session, probably the end part of this week, and just do an online consult, take you through the specific drills, and then maybe add 2 or 3 more rehab programs, drills. The last bit is on the app, and I can actually check when you last did your workouts or when you've last done your rehab and what level of pain you were in. So I would ask you specific questions, and then from there, we'd basically book our second session. The second, third, fourth, fifth sessions are all progressively overloading, but the focus is on improving and connecting you back to your bench pressing. And I expect us to have a 3-month journey together. So, it's not that we want you to keep you for longer. I just want to see you bench press safely, effectively, to not, 1, bulletproof, and 2, for this injury to not happen again.
So how's this for extra accountability for both of us?
Yeah.
It's April the 6th today. I'll be doing my rehab for just over 3 weeks.
2 weeks now, yeah.
Yeah. So let's say the start of June.
Yeah.
There should be a video of me back in the gym bench pressing.
Let's do it.
If gyms are open. If not, floor pressing in my home gym.
That's it. Floor pressing in your home gym. And I think it's a good guide to have. Now, look, I wouldn't sort of start just being defined by deadlines, but I think it's a great place to hold accountability for the rehab. Whatever your tendon and the structure happens, whatever happens in there, well and good. But at least you've maintained the rehab, and 9 out of 10 times you're bound to get a good lifting happening. You're bound to settle that shoulder down. You're bound to improve it, but over that 3-month period.
One thing I want to ask is, I'm obviously
just to finish that consult, I'll also ask you about what your plans are for the rest of the week and start connected to your family.
What I was going to, just on the consult, actually on the topic of the consult, what about the other rehab exercises I'm doing? So you've got me doing the banded 45-degree lift. You've got me doing the abduction, and you've got me doing the hovers.
Yeah, the hovers. So I think that's it. The hovers were quite a humbling one for you. I think you realize that I can't hold my body on one hand. And for someone who's able to bench 50 kilos off the floor, or 40 kilos or 50 kilos, you are not able to hold your body weight on one hand in that sort of crouch position. So this is something that I would want you to work on still. A couple of the other ones, I'll be rejigging them. And now that you've done 3 weeks of them, I think I'll make them a bit more sexier, and I'll change a couple of them just to make sure you're not getting too bored. So the boredom is a big part that we look at in our part of a rehab. We really ask you, like, are you tired of them?
I would say having gone through this, boredom in physio and rehab is way higher than people talk about getting bored of a training program. But I think in training, there is a case for once you learn the movements, you need to really dive in and continue to focus on progressive overload because you spent so long building the neural pathways and the neural patterns. Is that same concept applicable to physiotherapy, or is it
literally the same concept?
Is there a case of actually embracing the boredom?
Yeah, absolutely. The monotony is key because the monotony is also going to help you. Not everything has to be shifted. Not every step needs to be readjusted. Not every exercise needs to look Instagram worthy. It's all about changing that neuropathic change to your pain, that changing that sort of nerve connection to the body, to the muscle, to the mind. And over a period of time, resilience is the key. Is building resilience. That's what we're doing here. We're building resilience for you to not have this injury again. Or if you do have the injury, you have the knowledge to rehab yourself.
One thing, one question, and you may hear this all the time. So I'm for example, I've been training for 10 years, so I've got a good awareness of my body. And if you tell me to flex my arm, I can flex it. I can tell you where I'm pain, where I've got pain. If you tell me to get into a position, I can, with the right cueing, I can do it. What about someone who's more earlier on into the stage? How will you do this without being hands-on? What's the method of online delivery here?
So we have a lot of videos. We have our share screen, first of all, and we have videos that are already recorded. And most people, once they watch a video, they would understand what it should look like, and they would try and aim towards as close as possible towards it. I think once they watch something with us and we guide them through it.
Okay, so they watch it and then you live guide them through it.
Yeah, absolutely. So while we're here, I could just share my screen. I could say to you, Akash, this is a video. Let's watch it together. Do you see how this person's moving this bit? They're like, oh yeah, I got it. Okay, now let me see if you can do it. And if you do it correctly, all good. If you don't, that's absolutely fine as well. We'll just work on it together. And we would just literally take that movement and say, let's deconstruct it. Let's change a little bit. Let's change that. Let's change that.
Amazing. This is a game-changing concept. I personally.
Yeah, I think we're 5 years behind you guys. I think, like you said, the online physio world, all of a sudden, every physio is now offering online physio. The one thing that we know is that this is a game changer for everyone in our industry to now improve on their communication, how to engage with their clients, how to empower them, but most important, give value. If I don't give you enough value, there is no reason for you to be speaking to me.
It's going to weed out a lot of the bad ones as well, because
the quacks, as I call them.
Yeah, quacks. Sure. Like I said, you can't get away with just rubbing their shoulder for 30 minutes anymore.
No, and I'm not going to be able to sort of distance massage you from this screen to the other side. So yeah, the key here for anyone is going to be, you've got to trust the person and the process. But I think the biggest thing for all the physios out there is you've got to inspire that change, and you've got to empower these people. And now you don't have the human touch to do it either. So game on.
Amazing. Rushabh and his team at R&D are well ahead of the curve here. And they've got a formalized methodology that's proven not only in person in their successful clinics, but also in the online space as well. So definitely the go-to team to fix any problems that you may have with your body.
Thank you so much, Akash. I'm super humbled again to be connected to R&T and to have the opportunity to help and serve.
Absolutely. And if you want to find out more about Rushabh, we will link his details in the show notes here. He's also contributing content to the R&T page. So check out the online physio section on the website. All the links will be put in the show notes. But looking forward to hearing more and more from the experts at R&D and specifically the founder, Rushabh Savla. Thanks for coming on, Rushabh.
Thank you, Akash. Have a good one. Stay safe.